Now then, we set sail for Chile, and Chile actually lived up to its name. It was cloudy most of the time, wasn't it?
It was. It is.
It is. It's clearly today. We're in this beautiful place. Anyway, first stop was
Arica,
and we went on another tour, and we went off. And the first thing they showed us was another square with another church. Eiffel.
Gustav Eiffel.
Yeah, but it was a church in a square. Yeah, we've seen a few of those. The interesting thing actually was the graffiti. Graffiti was starting to become very political, and our guide spent some time telling us about the problems with pensions and the living wage in Chile, and the police presence was a lot heavier.
Yeah.
So you kind of left there thinking, yeah, this is a place with problems.
Well, she explained that people have been protesting about two things. First of all, that the living wage is so low,
it's
people
not
can't
living.
actually live on it, and that when they retire, well, they can't retire basically. People can't afford to retire because the pension that they get given is so little, they can't afford to even pay their rent on it.
Yeah.
So people are having to keep working until they're very old in order to just keep up their standard of living.
Yep. Anyway, we got in the coach then and we went to the top of this big lump of rock, which was called
El Morro.
El Morro, which is a symbol of the town. I have to say, pretty magnificent views up there from the top, and lots of statues and Christ-like figures.
Well, she explained it was all about the wars and negotiations that have happened between Chile, Peru and Bolivia, which are very close proximity to each other there.
Yeah.
So in the port, a lot of the boats were actually Bolivian boats because it's the only port that they can use.
That's right.
And actually the towns in Peru were much closer than any other town in Chile.
Yeah, and
so
it had once been part of Peru.
Yeah.
In the kind of they had wars in the 19th
But
century.
the other really interesting thing about the geography of where we were is that it was on the edge of the Atacama Desert,
driest
place on Earth.
On Earth.
Yeah.
And you could see it. There was this thin coastal strip with fishing, and then a valley which we were about to go up. But other than that, it was just completely barren.
Just arid, nothing.
Lunar landscape, I think. But the views from the top were great, weren't they? And then we got back into the coach again, and then we set off to see the geoglyphs, which were, I think they've probably been maintained. They're kind of stones on top of
volcanic stones that have been placed
and ranged, but I think they must have been maintained. But they're pretty good. Llamas.
Well, they were all on the hillside facing the sun.
Yeah.
And what she explained to us was that they were put there as a sign for people who came to show them the way to the coast. But they were sort of men pointing with little groups of llamas following. And the idea was that it would show travellers who were coming from inland which direction the coast was in.
Very good.
So there were quite a lot of those, weren't
Very
there?
good, yes.
Scattered along the hillside.
Scattered a lot. And then we went on to the museum, which again, small but pretty good, and gave you a little bit of an insight to pre-Spanish life and what have you. Andean life. So that was all pretty good. And then we got back, and by now it was starting to heat up. And we'd had a little trip in the coach. We'd seen the beaches, and we did. Well, there's not much there. We'll go back to the boat, which is actually quite a good decision because my tummy wasn't very good. But what Mel later found out from our Aussie friends was
we should have got a taxi to the caves, which they said was stunning. But then they only did the caves and then drank loads of pisco sours, whereas we did an archaeological tour. So you can't. What we've learned is you can't do everything in every port.
But we did have the charming company of the Eccles in the evening as well.
Which is what we're doing today.
Yes. So that was Arica. Then we had 2 days at sea, and I wasn't very well. And Mel has got a sore throat and a sore knee. So we're limping.
We're limping to the finishing line.
But we got to the port of
San Antonio.
And we're going to go to the airport in Santiago. But this place is called
Valparaiso.
And I have to say that Mrs. Reese here has done very well because she organised this separately. And like 24 hours after she organised it, the boat cancelled all the excursions, so all these people were left high and dry. But we had booked our marvellous taxi driver, and we came to this place, and it's a bit cloudy and a bit cool. But how would you describe it, Mel?
We are happies.
We are not hippies, we are happies. And it's interesting, it's very beautiful. It's a bit touristy, so there's two sorts of graffiti here now. There's basically the kind of the stuff the hotels and the inns do, which is
art murals.
Art murals. And then there's the loads and loads of protest murals. I think it's pretty. Now, Mel, of all the places you've been to on our trip, where would you like to stop and write a book?
Oh, I'd like some of my time in Puerto Vallarta, please.
Right.
Then I'd like to get on a plane and come to Valparaiso.
Yes.
For my second draft.
And what about?
Okay?
Yes, that's okay. And what about my promised trip in Peru?
Oh, yeah, we're coming back to do Machu Picchu.
No, I'm not sure. I'd be very pleased if we actually
we're
do it.
We're actually doing it.
And
I guarantee we're doing it.
And I've been informed that Mel's going to get.
Promise.
Mel's going to get one of the houses here to write, and I might be allowed to visit for a weekend if I'm very lucky. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go down the hill, and we're going to meet our nice taxi driver, and we're going to go to the airport, and we're going to sit on the big white plane 14 hours.
We're going to cross our fingers first to see whether Louis Beardsworth has pulled any magic.
Yes, good old Louis. I'm sure he'll have tried. He's a good boy. Yeah. He's a good boy. Yeah. So that's the end, really, of our
2.5 weeks at sea, from LA all the way down to San Antonio in Chile.
Yeah, and it's strange because most of the time it's on the boat, but the things you remember are off the boat, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, and there's been some writing being done.
A little bit.
And a bit of photography done.
A little bit.
And some gym work.
A little bit.
Oh, quite a bit. Quite a lot. And even somebody has developed a love of jacuzzis.
Well, I don't love them, but my back loves them. Yeah.
I love them, and neither of us. And this is, I hope our kids get to see this. Is looking forward to doing washing, cooking, cleaning, shopping, and basically wiping bottoms of adult children. Yes, we like being happies, not hippies. Is that the slogan?
Not hippies.
We're not hippies, we're happies. That's our slogan. Say goodbye, Mel.
Bye.
Bye.